Hi everyone, Video Base here, and today I'm going to be making a slingshot out of a naturally harvested fork from a tree I took it off a few days ago. So I've left it inside by a radiator for a couple of days, so it's I think it's dry enough, for a slingshot. I'm only going to be using a single layer TheraBand Gold slingshot bands on it anyway, so it's not like it's going to be under too much stress. Seems strong enough. The forks don't flex or anything like that. The handle at the moment's way too long, so I'm probably going to cut it off to maybe where that dot is there. Yep, should be enough, because I'm going to be holding onto the forks with my fingers anyway, because the opening is sort of largest up here, so you need to have your hand quite far up, otherwise the whole thing is going to tilt back when you pull on the cord, the elastic. So I've marked here, so I'm just going to take part of this fork off so it's more symmetrical and in line with the other one, and I'm doing this entire project with just a multi-tool. I know it's kind of cheating to use the vise, but I cut it from the tree with just this, so that's what I'm going to be using for the rest of the project. I already have the band set up, and all I need to do is cut it to size, put the grooves in with the file, sand it down, which is optional, but it will make the elastic last longer because it will be less abrasion on it and it will just feel better in the hand. And I might stain it with some oil as well. Let's get to it. There we go. As we can see, that fork now has like a sharp edge on it, so we just need to get the pocket knife part of the tool and just sort of primitively carve it and then go over it with the file. So I'm going to do that next. Get the pocket knife out and just take a little bit of material off the ends. Just continue that and then file it down. Yep, just round off all the edges. This top one's smooth, just doing this one now. And then I'll cut the handle down to size. As you can see there, the tops are quite smooth. You just want to feel around with your hand just to see if there's any sharp edges as well. Just grip the slingshot in your hand, because obviously there's two sides to it. So for me, this one feels more comfortable with the slightly thinner fork on the left hand side. And I'll probably shoot it like that. So it needs to be cut off just about where that dot was on that side, just underneath that. So I'll do that now. There we go. So I took quite a considerable piece off the handle. As you can see there was already cracks forming, so cutting above that crack will stop it travelling any further when it dries out more in the future. As I said, this was by the radiator for a couple of days, but it will dry out a bit more. But as you can see there on the end, there's no cracks. So same thing with the forks here. You don't have to pay as much attention to the butt of the piece because there won't be any rubber touching it. You just carve it down with the pocket knife part of the tool again, and then round it off with the file. So the tops are cut to a similar length and smoothed over. Not really completely symmetrical, but they're close enough for me. The bottom's been cut off to a decent length. You can still hold it like a traditional slingshot, but I'm going to be using it like that because I find that's really comfortable. Next thing to do for me is I'm just going to sand it quickly. You don't have to do this step if you're making one, outside in the woods or something. And I might file in some grooves at the top here to help secure the bands when they're wrapped around with the smaller bands. These ones here. So it's just rubber on rubber when you attach most slingshots. There are some more modern ones where you can get an Allen key and like clamp them on with sort of plastic clamps. But because this one's made of wood, I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way. I also got some ammo to shoot after I've made it. Got this, which I believe is a 10 or 11 millimeter steel ball. I've got a smaller steel ball here, which is, I think it's about 8 millimeters. And then in this bag here, I actually have quite an interesting load of ammo. They're like a compressed mud sort of pellet, like a clay, and they just shatter on impact. They actually leave like a mark, like a chalk mark. So they're a lot better to shoot in gardens if you've got, I don't know, if you're teaching a kid to shoot, or there's any windows or plant pots that you don't want to accidentally smash or anything like that, or you've got neighbours that don't really like you shooting. You can just use these, and then the rest for testing and hunting if you're into that. So just going to sand this down, and then we'll see about putting the bands on. So sanded it with the 120 grit paper. I only used half a sheet. So that feels fine how it is. Not really any rough bits sticking out. So reverse the slingshot, and now putting in the grooves around the front. I'll also sand these after. Just want to put them in halfway. You don't have to go too deep with them either. As you can see, they're only like maybe a half a millimeter deep. I'm cheating and using the rat tail file, but that's just because this one on this specific model doesn't have the teeth along the sides, the edges of the file there. My Leatherman does, but I'm not using that one today. So finish those up now. Use the file, wrapped a piece of sandpaper around there to get the same shape, and go over these again just to smooth them down a bit. Now it's time to put the TheraBand gold bands on, just a single layer band. So I don't have my tripod out with me today, but this is how you finish off the bands. So you placed a big flat band over the top, running alongside the groove. Then you just hold the other one in place, the small one, start wrapping it around, keeping tension on it so it just stays there, wrapping it over itself. Then on the last wrap, you go over a pair of pliers, and then once the band comes back round on the last wrap, you just grab it with the teeth and you pull it through. And as you can see there, it just holds it all in place. Just need to pull the rest of that through because the pliers lost grip on it. There we go. So you should have two sort of loose ends of the the wrap when it's done. And there we have it. One finished Slingshot. Now to test it. That's a hit. Next, the heavier 11mm steel BB. A bit low on that one. There we go, that hit. Just going to shoot one more of the target shots. Let's see what it does. Yeah, because that log's quite wet, and the pumpkin's got a bit of give, they're just sort of bouncing off. Yeah, I'll show you that one that I just shot because it landed on the floor. There it is. So they're perfectly fine to use again. Yeah, that one's fine, no damage. But if you shoot them against a brick or something like that, that's a much better backstop for these. So no damage to the Slingshot. The rubber at the top appears to be fine because there's no sharp edges. Like I said, you have to sand those parts down the most. And let's see what damage we did to the pumpkin. So some of those soft sort of clay mud target loads actually put a decent dent into some of it. Doesn't look like anything actually went all the way through this one, this pumpkin. No. I'm sure with my double layered Slingshot, the infamous ram bone, that would have gone through. I'm guessing that was the smaller steel BB. These other ones, because they're grazes, they were just the target loads. And this one here, you can still see the BB inside just about. This one was the larger one. So that went in, you know, at least 10mm deep. So it's not bad. So pretty good project, to be fair. Really easy to make and really fun to use. No excuse not to make one. See you later and have a good day.